Hi, I'm Linda. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator here in Australia, and I'm just going to show you really quickly today how to do something very simple. This is a card that was on my blog during the last week, and a few people asked me a couple of the things that I did on here, how do I get the swirls behind here, and also the darker colour at the edge of the star. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Really, really simple. This is actually a card that uses a basic masking technique. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get your stamp. And I'm actually using Pool Party ink, and I'm just going to ink it straight up onto my stamp. This is the Christmas star. How lovely is it? It's such a beautiful stamp, and it's one of our single stamps that we're offering this Christmas. You will need a bigger block though for it. I'm using F block, the acrylic block number F. Okay, now I've inked that up in the blue Pool Party, and now I'm going to use my Island Indigo, my darker blue. And I'm going to get myself a little bit of sponge. Our sponges are round and come about so size. I like to chop them up to get a bit more use out of them. And I'm going to ink this up really, really well by pushing it very well into the darker ink. And then I'm going to go around the outside of my stamp. You could use sponge daubers, but I find it's easier to blend with the sponges than it is with the daubers onto a stamp. The daubers are great for using around the edges of things, but on a stamp I prefer a sponge. Personal preference though. Okay, so I've done all around the edges, and I'm going to stamp this. I'm going to just do it slightly off center and stamp it onto here. Okay, so now I've got my stamp. It's very pretty, isn't it? So it's a lighter blue in the middle, darker around the outside. You may not be able to see that too clearly, but that's what I'm trying to get with. And then I've actually made a second star. This is the same. I've actually used it lots of times, but I've actually cut this out of another piece of paper, so it's exactly the same star as the one as before. And then I'm going to pop it over the top of this star. Now, when you're masking, we're going to be stamping over the top of this so that the ink will go everywhere that the star is, the paper star mask is not. However, when you're using a mask, my tip is to cut your star ever so slightly, maybe about 1 millimeter or so, ever so slightly smaller than the actual star shape. And the reason why is, you might be able to see this, I've cut it slightly smaller so you can just see the edges. I'm not sure how clear that is. Just see the edges of the first star that I stamped underneath. And the reason you do this is because if you make it exactly the same size, you end up with like a border, an area between the original stamp and where the masking stamp starts. So I'm going to use Smoky Slate, which is my new favourite grey. It looks almost silver to me. It's such a pretty colour. And I'm using this Flourish here out of the Everything Eleanor set. I'm going to ink it up. New ink pads you have to use quite differently. You actually just tap them gently. Don't try and push your ink into them. So then you pop your star over, the one we've just stamped. Make sure it covers the original. And then decide where you want your swirl to go. Just straight down over the top. And when I take that away, take my star off, now my stamp looks like it comes from behind my star. And that's your basic masking. Very easy, you can do it with anything, and it's always a great way of giving your cards a little bit of almost dimension, because it looks like one image is in front of another. So it looks really good. To finish this one off, all I did was I inked around the outside. Once again, you can use a sponge or a dauber. Just using a sponge because that's what I've got here. I'm using my Island Indigo ink again. If you'd like to learn some of these techniques that I show on my videos, please come along to a class if you're able to. I'm on the Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. If you don't have the ability to come to a class, keep checking out the videos. I try and pop them up nearly every week. Very occasionally there's a week that happens that I can't do. I also cut a silver star out of some of our silver glimmer paper, and I used one of the framelit dies, so that's going to go in the middle there. That came out of the circle framelit set. So there's a little star that's in this set here, and I've used that one. It's good when you can get uses out of all the bits. I'm going to use a dimensional to pop that on. So just straight onto the back, peel the back off, put it down, That's pretty. Okay, the one thing it needs at the end is some words, so I won't do that because you know how to stamp those, I'm sure. But you can see in the original here I stamped the Christmas wishes from the Joy to the World stamp set. And then I've mounted it on some Island Indigo cardstock, and then the base cardstock is the Smoky Slate as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. Just a really simple little technique, how to do masking and also sponging onto your stamps directly to give you a different grade of colour. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back soon. Bye!